Hello, I'll be doing this quick demo to demonstrate how to use this GitHub project which I've created sitting on my GitHub. As uses Terraform to deploy a simple Python app on ECS. So we'll be using basically CodePipeline, which will contain the code commit, code build, and code deploy. So let's get into it. So first things first, we will have to. It has two directories. The first directory is the create pipeline. Second one is the create state bucket. So if we go first to the create state bucket, so the idea is that you store the state of your Terraform in the cloud so that you can collaborate with other people essentially. So if I cd to the create state bucket, so here we'll create the state of our bucket and then we'll save it. It will just basically an S3 bucket which we'll use to save the state of the bucket of the Terraform. So I'll quickly close all of this. Open the main file. See, there's not much else in here apart from just defining the region, and the region we'll be working with is, if I go to the US West 2, and that's basically it. We're creating our bucket, setting force destroy equal to true. This is essential because just for cleanup purposes, so if I want to clean up, I can delete it and it won't throw an error because there's something still inside the bucket. Alright, the Terraform initialize. Wait for that to get done. Terraform has been initialized, and then we do backend spell. We do Terraform apply to create our bucket. So yes. Bucket is creating. Just have to wait for that for a bit until it's finished. This should. Alright, bucket is created. So if we go to our console and search for S3, and our bucket should be there. My TF state bucket, which is what we've called it. Okay, cool. So we need to copy this. Now we've finished with this directory. We'll go to the actual pipeline. Okay. Don't need this anymore. I don't need this anymore. So if we go to the actual pipeline, we go to the variables first. We set a bunch of variables here, and the account ID, which is one of the most important bits. This account ID have to be included. So about the account ID have to be included in your TL vars. Terraform.tl vars. Obviously this is not my account ID, so I'll replace it shortly. But you have to put your account ID here for it to work. Okay, and then if we go to our main file is where we put the name of this bucket which we just created earlier. So my tier state bucket. So I put it there, and then we are ready to rock and roll. Okay, so I'll pause the video and then I will go and include my account ID, and then we can continue. Okay, I populated my account ID So now let's quickly go through what we'll be doing. So we start from the main. On the main file, we are obviously initialize our Terraform, telling it what this part of the bucket it should be using. Go to our AWS region. We tell it what region which is have been selected in our variables file. We create a code commit repository. In this code commit repository, we have the name and the description. Now, we come to the provisional. So the provisional allows you to run commands with Terraform, but locally in your machine. So this is what we're doing. We are stating the working directory, which is Python app, which is this app, right? Which is basically a simple Python app, right? So we initialize it to Git, we add it to Git, and then we commit it into our code commit repository. Obviously, this will be done. Obviously, it depends on the code commit repository. So we have to first create the code commit repository before we can commit our changes in there. Commit and push, basically. And then on line 38, we basically for cleanup. When we do Terraform destroy, this bit will run. It just basically clean up the Git initialization which we've done earlier, right? Then we have a S3 bucket. This is an S3 bucket which will basically store our artifacts. So the artifacts we'll create on our CICD, which is our code pipeline, which we'll have a look in a bit. So it will be stored here basically. So let's quickly look at what you are doing on the Python app. So we have the Python app, basically a simple flask app. So on the main directory, it just returns OK, and you also have subdirectory that just returns. This is a simple flask app, so it doesn't do much basically. Go to a Docker file. A Docker file uses a Python image which is currently in AWS ECR. So the reason why I've used it instead of a Python image and a Docker repository is because the Docker repositories are throttled. Basically, there's an amount of requests that you can use in Docker repository, so it's just better you put your image on the ECR. Okay, so that's what we're doing. Then we copy the contents of the app to the working directory and basically install requirements and then expose the entry points. Okay. Now that is done, go to our build file. So this will run during our build. So what we will do, we have our pre-build, we have stages, which is our pre-build, our build, and then the post-build, and then what artifacts that we're exposing. So during our build, we do some simple echo, we log in, right? After we log in, we set the repository URL, which is the repository which will push into the ECR, which is this, which is written from our environment variable, which we'll set. We'll see that in a bit. Then we run our unit test. Our unit test will be using Docker to run our unit test, which is in our test here, our test app. And the unit test is just basically checking if there's obviously it's just a simple app, so it's just a simple test for now. Where's our build spec? Alright, so that's for that. Then we'll build command. So after the test has been run, then we can build the image, right? After building the image, then we push the image to the ECR AWS repository. And then we create the artifacts. Okay, once this is done, then we can go, where else should we go? So first, let's look at the networking part. So we are creating a VPC, enable host names, creating a subnet, a gateway, route table, AWS subnets, obviously public and a private, and then we are giving our association for it to reach the internet. Then we go to our load balancer. We have a load balancer here, which will expose the application running on the ECS. We have a target group, our load balancer listener, and then obviously the security group, because we are exposing port 80. And done that. Security. So within our security, we have a bunch of roles which it will assume. So we have all the roles here, and we can go to the ECS cluster. On the ECS cluster, we have our ECR repository, right, which we'll put our image on. We create the ECS cluster here. Then we create an ECS service and create a task definition. And I think I don't actually use this data. This is obviously it needs an AMI. So I got this AMI directly from AWS, and then I just basically posted it here. So you need a particular AMI that is ECS enabled, which is this one. Okay, and we have an auto-scaling group. Okay, I think so. Now we can go to our code build. Our code build is basically we have a code build project. We're utilizing the IAM role, which is on the security.tf. That's basically it. There's not much to see here. And finally, we go to our pipeline, which is actually what brings everything together. So within the pipeline, we have our artifact store, which we've created earlier. And then we have our stages, right? So first we have our source stage, which is where the code is coming from. We reference our repository name, which we've created earlier, which is in code commit. Then we have our build stage. Our build stage is using all these environment variables. So these environment variables is what was referenced on our code build spec file. So if I go to it, this is our code build spec file. It's referencing a bunch of environment variables, and those we are obtained from the pipeline. So during the pipeline, we're setting those variables. Okay. So then on the parameter store, we have our account ID. So this, I've initially set this on the parameter store. So if you go to AWS parameter store, it's your account ID, because it's sensitive, I don't put it here. And what else? And then that's basically it. Obviously we have a container name, the project, then finally we go to the deploy. We tell it the ECS cluster name, which we have created earlier, the Python service name, which was also created earlier. And that's basically it. So you can go ahead and create this pipeline. So I'll feed it into the directory, clear, and we do Terraform init to initialize Terraform. Obviously, it's telling us our backend is AWS3. It's okay, because we configured it to do that. And now that is done, we can just straight Terraform apply to apply our changes. So obviously, that will create everything on this, push our code to code commit, do our code build, create our pipeline, and push it to ECS. Right? It's quite a lot, so it's going to take some time to do, if it works. Hopefully it does. So let's wait for that to do its magic. Right, so I should accept changes, and then we just wait. Okay, it's running. Alright, so basically it's done. And one thing I forgot to mention is that you have to sign into your AWS in terms of your Git. So you have to create Git credentials. Alright, I have to create AWS credentials. So go to security, generate Git credentials, and use that to sign in. So I forgot to mention that. So you need that as well. So we have to sign into Git for able to push this up onto screen. So that's done. The Elastic Load Balancer endpoint is that, and the code commit repository is that. So first we need to go to AWS, and then go to CodePipeline. Okay, because I'm in Paris and I have to be in we are using US West 2, I think, Oregon. How did I get to Paris? I have no idea. So I have this is our code pipeline, and currently it's in progress. Alright, the source is done, the build is done, so it's now the deploy. Okay. Yep, deploy has just been triggered. Wait for that to get done. Once that's done, then we can go to use our endpoint to access the application. If we want to, we could go and have a look at the details. Alright, that's what it's currently doing during the deployment. You can also have a look at the details of our code build. See what it did. Okay. Run the unit test. Unit test passed. Here, so here, this is where you run the unit test, and the unit test passed. One run test and one pass. Pull the image, and yep, the build went well. You can see, just waiting for the deploy to get done. Alright, I'll just pause it until it's finished. Okay, so deployment is finished. Source, build, deployed. The only thing left now is to go and have a look on our Elastic Load Balancer, and hopefully it's been deployed. So if we go to, so earlier I was having a look at the cluster. So the cluster is here. There's only one service and one task. CPU utilization is only running one container. Obviously, we also have an Elastic auto scaling group, and also an Elastic Load Balancer, which we're gonna go have a look now, and hopefully it is up. Well, I guess not. Oh, I guess so. So it is up. Obviously, like I said, the sample app just returns okay. So it looks like we're good. Everything works as expected. We can go and investigate the load balancer. In EC2. Go on EC2. Investigate the load balancer. The load balancer in there. We have our target group and auto scaling groups as well. about a scaling group. Okay, that's it. The application is working. Thanks for watching. Goodbye. I think the whole thing took about 40 minutes. 30-40 minutes from, yeah, but I'll do a more detailed metrics later.